everyone, Sheree here. Today I'm going to create a layout using the absolutely gorgeous Alexis Kit from Felicity Jane. This has to be one of my most favourite Felicity Jane kits yet. I just absolutely love the colours and patterns in this kit. I've got 4 of the papers chosen out of the kit to use today. I've got my photo ready to go. I'm planning on using the cute heart stencil as well on this page. And I've got all my die cuts right here at hand. Part of the kit this month was this really pretty felt ribbon, and I've already been having a bit of a play with it. I've got this lovely little pleated ribbon piece which I've stitched down the middle, and all I did with this ribbon was just fold it onto itself a few times, just like that, and ran it through my sewing machine. And so that now I have this lovely felt texture to use on my page. So to go with that, I also made a little felt ribbon. So that it was matching with that stitching on it, I ran the ribbon through my sewing machine first, then I folded it into the bow shape, and I used fabric glue to stick the pieces together. So I'll be able to use that on my page as well. So I do have the stamps here ready to use, and I will probably use one of these gorgeous puffy stickers as my title as well. Probably this lovely word up here. Okay, so what I'll do is get started and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so to start off this design, I'm going to add my stenciling to the background cardstock. Now this white background cardstock is trimmed down to approximately 11 by 10 inches or so, and all I'm doing is smoothing that modelling paste over the top of the stencil. And then I will set this aside to dry, and I do end up adding a little bit more to the top left corner as well as that little section there. So you can see the texture that gives to the background. All nice and dry now, so I can now continue on with this page. So I'm going to stick that down onto that beautiful yellow dotty background paper, and then I can start playing around with all the other little pretty bits and pieces. So I've got my photo, and I'm going to create a little cluster down in that bottom right hand corner where I've done that stenciling. So I've got little pieces of other pattern papers from the kit that I've just cut bits from, and just layering that up. I've got the die cut tag from the die cut pack, and I've added a really long piece of twine to that because, as you know, I love lots of twine on my pages. Now, because I've got a little pop of colour in that bottom right hand corner, I'm adding the same papers as strips along the left hand side of that cardstock, just so that it helps to balance out the design a little bit. I like to just have a little bit more colour on that left hand side of the page. So I'm just making sure I have the right amount of colour peeking out, and then I'm going to go ahead, grab my sewing machine and stitch a border right around that white cardstock. I won't make you watch the whole thing. Just a little bit, and there we go, that's all done. So now I'm just roughing up those little strips of paper so that everything's not sitting too flat on the page, and then I can start playing with other little bits and pieces. So I've got that felt strip that I made earlier, and I'm going to stick that down along the stitching line that I just did. So because that little piece has got the stitched line down it already, if I line up that stitching of the border, it looks like I've actually stitched it down onto the cardstock, which is kind of fun. Alright, I just used liquid glue for that, and that holds it into place really nicely. So now I'm going to play with this photo cluster a little more, add some more layers, making sure I get the right amount of colour and layering there. So I've decided to add another little label in there so that there's a bit more yellow in this spot. Just staple those together so they don't keep moving about, and then I can look at what else to add. First I'm going to grab out my title. I decided on that beautiful lovely word. Absolutely love these puffy words. I'm going to be sad when I run out of them. I think I might have to order some more. Okay, so I decide I do need another layer. I've grabbed the text paper out of the kit, and I just put it over towards the left hand side of the cluster because I just felt like it needed something a little extra on that left hand side. So I can stick all those things down now. Now that I've got those layers finalized, I can put that into place. So I'll stick that one on, and then I can add my title, and I'm going to just put that down the left hand side of the photo. I did add a little bit of stitching across the top of the photo first, just to hold it all into place. And now that title can go on. So I'm just carefully peeling it from that backing sheet. I don't want to tear it. And it is quite sticky. So I know that it's going to hold onto those layers nicely. So popping that one down. And now I've got that tag. And because I have done a row of stitching across the top of the photo, I've just trimmed that tag down so I can still slip it in between those layers. Okay, I'm just adding a few more embellishments now. So I've got that little felt bow that I made earlier. I've got the heart die cuts from the die cut pack. I just love the two-toned colours on those. I've also got one of those black and white stripe buttons that came in the autumn kit. I just felt it needed a little bit more black in that top left hand corner, so that helps to add that there. So I'm going to stick that felt bow down with some liquid glue again, because that holds it nicely. Then I've got a flare, which is also from Felicity Jane, and I'll hold that down using a glue dot. They're nice and sticky, and that'll be held into place really well. Now for those hearts, I've chosen to use some foam squares, and that'll just hold them up off the page a little, add a bit of dimension. So do all three of those. Okay, just deciding where to put that last one. I'm still fiddling with that button at the top left there. I do need to stitch that down, but first I'm going to do a little bit of stamping. So from the Alexis stamp set, I'm using the word remember, and I'm going to stamp that up in that top left hand corner near that felt pleated strip. So do a little test stamp first, and then I'll just stamp that a couple of times. I had to be careful with that bulky felt ribbon there, but I managed to stamp it nice and clear, which was great. So now I've just grabbed some other stamp sets from my little stash there. This one is the Willow stamp set, and that had a phrase that says, "so much happy." So I'm going to stamp that underneath the photo. And I'll stamp that a couple of times. Again, I just had to be careful with that bulky felt bow there, but it was fine. And then I've got this other stamp set, which is the Zoe stamp set, and that had 3 teeny little hearts all in a row, which I thought would just be perfect to finish off this stamping. So you can just see that there, it's really tiny. So I'm putting that underneath that phrase, and then I'm also going to stamp that in that top left hand corner as well. Just adds that little bit extra. Okay, so now I'm just deciding exactly where I'm going to put that button, and in the end I do decide on that outside area, outside that felt strip. So all I'm doing is poking some holes with my needle into that background paper, and with my embroidery thread I simply go up from the back, down through the front, and then I'll tie a double knot at the back, and that's held on really well. Just trim off those extra threads. Okay, so we're almost done. I'm now going to just secure this long tail of twine into place. I've stapled in that bottom right hand corner and again on that left hand side of the page. So the twine is actually sort of free flowing there, but you can arrange that however you like. So to finish off the page now, I'm just going to add a few little black dimensional dots around the place. So a few around the hearts, a couple up on that left hand side and down near that photo cluster as well. And then to finish this off, all I need to add is the date. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing how I've put this page together using the beautiful Alexis Kit. I'll pop a link to Felicity Jane online down below, and as always I'll also leave you with some close-up photos at the end. Let me know if you've got any questions. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back again really soon. Bye for now.